Oh, yeah. Happy Comic Book Day, and thank you to Bad Mary for that too sweet playing. Welcome all you four-color funny book aficionados. This is U.S. Comics Cast, Chapter 2, Episode 21, Two Topics, 60 Minutes for the People. Of course, I'm Jon Rivera, the CEO and co-founder of U.S. Comics, charmed, I'm sure.
And I am your hybrid pander, the COO of U.S. Comics, the co-host of U.S. Comics Cast, and of course, the greatest hybrid animal of all time. My dear brother, how are you doing on this beautiful comic book day?
You're only claiming the animal twice because you know my plant-based ass will have no hesitation of slathering you in BBQ sauce and propping you on the briskets come this Memorial Day. So it was a good call by Charlie.
You're welcome.
Charlie,
Yes!
I'm good, bro. How are you? I got to tell you, there's nothing like live entertainment of any type because we, just a little bit of inside view, we go to mute. The introduction music that's provided by Bad Mary is playing beautifully. And, you know, we're doing those last minute, me, mama, like getting ready for the broadcast. And no sooner, I mean, it was literally like T-minus 10 seconds before I had to come in with my nonsensical crap that like fucking Thor may have just landed in the backyard. It was so loud, this thunder crash. I might be in for a change of draws the second that the show was over. Just fair warning.
I always love that moment right before.
When I shit my pants?
When you shit your pants is always a good time, and it's always wildly entertaining. Speaking of wild entertainment, it has been a wild week for me. There have been some amazing trailer launches. There have been some amazing movie drops. I took my girlfriend to the movie theaters in the first time in over a year. So I was like perfectly situated to like absorb all sorts of entertainment. Let me ask you a quick question. Did you check out, I think it's called Army of the Dead, Zack Snyder's new jam for Netflix?
I gotta say a couple of things. I first of all, I love the transition machine that my brother has become. I'm loving it. He is ready for his morning news co-host anchor position. He's ready to go.
Nice little glass of coffee.
Also, as well as I love the fact that Charlie's like, hey, dipshit, make sure you watch this shit because I want to talk about it. And then his pathological actor ass is like, hey, Jon, did you happen to catch this flick from Snyder? I believe it's called Army of the Dead. Yes, Charlie, I did. Can you tell us about the weather and the traffic on the 15s?
You bastard. You bastard, just spoiling all my fun. Last time we talked about a movie, you did it one of my favorite ways possible. We did it as if we were watching the Roman fights. So I want to do it again. Put your thumb in the middle, and at the same time, I want to see it.
All right. I was going to pull out old Commodus himself, but all right. I'm going to go ahead and acquiesce for Charlie because he's my boy.
It's true. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Really? Charlie
hate
with the shocking
hate it.
thumb action.
Dude, I have never actively hated a movie more. I hate this movie a little bit more every day. We say on the show all the time, do not yuck someone's yum. I disagree. Yuck.
You say it.
Yuck.
Wow.
If you like this movie, sincerely, I would like to talk to you about it because I am furious. I'm not even going to bury the lead. I'm not going to do the bullshit I normally do while sharing this to
thumbs
people
up,
and places.
Thumbs down kind of buried the lead a bit, but it's all right. You know, I understand. We have catchphrases in this place.
I just want to take you through my feelings, and it's low end.
All right.
We're going low end spoilers at first, but I cannot promise.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot promise that I won't
All right, well, nobody's gonna yank the microwave. Relax a minute. Let's go ahead. Thank you. Put the spoiler warning up. If anybody does not want their yuck to yum ratio affected by Charlie's upcoming rant, the soapbox. I think I see it in the background. Go ahead and fast forward to about, I don't know, Charlie. Would you say about the 25-minute mark? Is that relatively safe?
Makes sense to me. 25 on the nose. You can rejoin this if you're watching it. Our chat is on fire tonight. Thank you so much, chat. A lot of people saying they loved it. They liked it. It was good. Some people are just in it
Charlie.
because Dave Bautista has a freaking hog the size of my shoulders, if legend is to be believed. But while I liked every single performer, even the one who was canceled and digitally removed from the movie, sure, I've never been more instantly pissed off. And again, low-end spoilers, but spoilers nonetheless. I watch this trailer. I see its neon logo, and I say to myself, self? They're going to be a good time. We're going to get zombie killing. We're going to get tee-hees and ha-has. And sure enough, the movie opens up with two military guys talking conspiracy theory about what are they carrying? What are they bringing from Area 51? Some of you eagle-eyed viewers may have even told me on the internet, you see two like dots of light fly off in the very beginning, kind of being like, huh? Aliens started the zombies. Which is great. I don't care how you start a zombie. I
don't think that there's any question mark that's pretty much the direction Zach was going. I don't think that's up for debate.
You think there's no question? We're gonna have some questions, my friend.
Right.
Because then I'm greeted with a guy marrying some lady who's nice enough to give him a little treat for their road trip.
Sure.
Apparently, this motherfucker that's right. I'm dropping motherfucker 8 minutes in.
Wow.
Apparently, this son of a bitch had the trunk, the engine, and this broad he was with filled to the brim with TNT because it's the biggest explosion I've ever seen in a movie. And I'm thinking, this is going to be fun because it's dumb. It knows it's dumb. Look how dumb it's being. And that was the smartest part of the fucking movie. There's time loops in this son of a bitch. There's parallel dimension versions. There's an alpha and an omega. I'm Zack Snyder. I picked all the ideas. Leave some for the rest of us, Zach.
For those that are paying attention, when Charlie said that there was going to be some light spoilers, like maybe one or two will like sneak past the goaltender, he clearly meant he has the pirated script laid out in front of him. He's got it highlighted, not in one color, but in two. Like his stage directions are in one, and his emotional point of view are in another. Charlie is bound and determined to go through this mother sucker page by page. I'm just gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna make like the Bass Storms and reel you in just a little bit, so we can leave something on the bone for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. I would say going in, and I came to the party like you did, prepared exclusively with just the trailer. Obviously, this has no IP, so all we had was the trailer and the understanding. Like I'll speak for myself. We are gonna go into this fracas, giving Zack Snyder some latitude, coming off of what he came off of, even finishing up Justice League, the way that happened, and kind of like even the divisive nature of that, most of the negatives coming from myself. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take it easy on poor little Zach, and I'm going to come in just from the trailers. My expectations are only from number one, I am a fan of the zombie genre, and B, number two, this is going to be fun.
Yeah,
right? This is going to be fun. This wasn't going to be Shakespeare.
Sure.
This wasn't going to be, advanced calculus. This wasn't going to be anything super calculated like any one of Charlie's numerous past romantic relationships. It's going to be relatively straightforward. And I do have to agree with you. We got anything if not a straightforward storyline. And these type of these type of pitches. Can you imagine what this elevator pitch was like?
Yes, here was the first thing that good old Zach, I imagine, did with some Pez. He broke up with a credit card. He said, "What if some of the robots are zombies and the zombies are robots?" And Dave Bautista, one of the most charismatic sons of bitches, in the chat right now, they're arguing that was the point. It was supposed to be dumb. It's a lighthearted romp. Dave Bautista is doing the big, like, snot bubble tears as he's fucking killing people he doesn't want to kill. This group, this ragtag Ocean's 11. Listen, the elevator pitch that he told me that got me to throw in my hat in this ring was that he was like, Ocean's 11 with zombies. And I took my top off and I said, "You're a genius, Zach." And then this asshole snuck in zombie cape, zombie helmet, alien masquerade, useless baby.
I do have to say,
2.5 hours long and nothing fucking makes sense.
When a creator has that like frame of mind of like, we're going to literally throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. Some things, you know, as a end user like myself, some things do stick for me. I'm like, oh, I like that. So like, for example, again, and this is just a pure personal opinion. I like Zombie Helmet. I'm like, all right, clear, especially coming from the place where, and this is spoiler heavy, so fast forward if you haven't done so already, or if you're Zack Snyder and you've been crying through Charlie's fucking abuse of this new content, go ahead and jump to 25, Zach. You'll be much happier. But I will say this: if you're telling me, okay, well, the Alpha, he's not just your typical run-of-the-mill dumb lurcher walker, you know, pick your zombie terminology. The helmet, I'm like, that's pretty clearly he's a cut above. He's got something going on.
Sure.
You had me though. Just the concept of like Vegas zombie town. Now here's the thing. I was also coming from a place of, I'm gonna cross my arms and sit back. I'm like, entertain me, I dare you, only though because of my love affair with Stephen King. So if you tell me going in, you're like, oh, we have a horror scenario and you're going to ultimately be in Vegas, like that's my mind automatically goes to The Stand. Right. Yeah. So I'm automatically thinking, I'm like, oh, we're gonna do this. Is there gonna be some kind of homage or something like that? And I realized Stephen King did not invent Las Vegas, nor did he invent horror, nor did he invent bad people going to Vegas. However, I was coming from that place of mind, so I really had to make it a point to say, you know what, let me give this a chance.
Sure.
My Netflix is paid up. I may as well squeeze some entertainment out of it. So I understand that you wore the red shirt today for good reason because you came in hot. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll volley to the other side of the net.
Yeah, I dare you to. Dare you to.
All right. So again, little moments like you know, like the gods on the exterior of Olympus of the hotel. Like there was a story being told there. And granted, and again, anyone doesn't want to know, fast forward now. So clearly he's saying that this zombie experience, and there are two types of zombies. They made that very, very clear. That this zombie situation, I don't want to call it apocalypse because it was just in Vegas for now. It's alien born. So we've got like alien babies, alien zombie babies.
That was a useless part, huh?
We have what else do we have? We've got zombie alien robots running around. We have time loops and parallel dimensions where you have like the dead version of your main cast dead outside
multiple times.
Wait, but here's the thing also, those characters that, and ultimately they did bite it, didn't die there. So,
well, no, that's the brilliance, though, man. You got to remember, this is a thinking man's movie that had a blowjob start the end of times. The most clever shit is hidden and no one pays attention to it. First of all, this bullshit movie that I hate with every fiber of my being and yet still think all of you should see. See, this is the duality of Charlie. You should see it.
This is the Charlie dead outside of the lockup, but he's wearing the same hybrid panda shirt. Like,
exactly. My fury is that this completely ruined what I've been saying for 6 months on this show, which is like, let artists be artists. Because I've never wanted to script Dr. Moore. The conversations are hey, we got 8 minutes to live. I love you, BT Dubs. Let me turn my back on Death Elevator. Fuck you. Also, if I was in some sort of weird zombie heist scenario and there was Corpse Charlie wearing a hybrid panda t-shirt, I would more than just be like, what a coincidence that this delicious fat Puerto Rican in a red hybrid. Are you out of your mind? Right there, I'd be like, helicopter. Speaking of helicopter, you CGI'd into the movie Glorious Woman, you. Maybe tell him you need help fixing your only mode of transportation. I'm so mad. In the chat, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Paul bringing up the only fact that they needed to spend more time on, Zombie Queen kind of hot. That was confusing for me. I didn't need that in the middle of this, being like, what the why am I attracted to this chick?
They say that clothes make the man, and I would counter with, yeah, but like any kind of a showgirl outfit makes the woman. Doesn't make a difference if you're tall, short, heavy, thin, dead, undead, alien, robot, whatever the case might be. I do have to agree with Paul on that one. That was there were conflicted emotions going on for me. Honestly, Charlie, I think that, and again, if people want to remember, because it wasn't on fire the way Charlie's reaction was, my thumb stayed level. Only in that I think we came into this with just different expectations.
No.
So it's one thing.
Bullshit.
No?
There was reasonably only one expectation. When your logo is neon,
yeah,
and when your main characters in flashbacks and the main progress of the story have an awesome patch I want that says Las Vengeance, a much better title for the film, by the way.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense.
Neither the fuck does. Army of the Dead is the most generic name of all time. And I like Land of the Dead, where John Leguizamo in that movie decides to find out what being a zombie's like. I'm so mad at the 100 ideas thrown in front of me.
Charlie is mad like he is he's waiting for the George Romero will to be read, and everything went to Zack Snyder instead of Charlie. And Zack was like, I got all the ideas. He literally made 5 movies. So there were also, as well as you had solid racist joke like, oh, it's not racist if we have the person whose race it's about say it, right? Wink, wink. I'm like, that's a little tone deaf, my friend. But also, as well as, he sends them in for the money. No, just kidding. He sent them in for the head. Oh, just kidding again. It wasn't him sending them in. He was secretly working for the government. That makes no sense. You want to know, as a self-professed creator myself, you know what? One of the things that really bothered me, obviously not on Charlie's level, but on more of just a pure creative level, like, okay, here's the story, write the script, which is clearly what Zack needs at this point. Even though he had like a co-writer, but it may have been a John Charlie scenario where the other guy was like, yeah, that's fine. Just fuck off.
You're a genius. You're so great.
Anyways, one of the things that bothered me most was like, so the world's preeminent safecracker happens to be like around the block, like in the same zip code, and the person who knew of that safecracker was just happened to also as well as be the person that you helped escape. That to me is like that is such a dumb.
Excuse me, just real quick, John.
Yes,
we're in full spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Whose safe was it that they were robbing?
The hotels.
The hotels. Yeah. It wasn't that. I thought it was that Chinese guy's.
No, and he was Japanese, so I appreciate your
my bad,
your color blindness. But no, it's the hotel.
That's great. That because the one thing I couldn't get over in all of this stupidity was like the safe cracking scene
Mhm.
had one moment of tension that didn't even make sense to me. Like it has the three
Well,
spindles, and he's like, "I messed up, but aren't you on to spindle 3,
but
guy?"
also as well as don't forget, they made such a point, and when you look at it, it's like one of those things where I can only imagine. Look, we know a lot of teachers, close friends of ours that are teachers. Not so much in the math. Like we know a couple of professors on the collegiate level, so maybe we can bring Shane in for that conversation. But there's a reason why teachers ask to see kids work, right? When their test is handed in, it's not just a question of like you pass or fail. In this case, I liked it, I didn't like it. You want to see their work. I'm so curious to see his work because he clearly had some kind of grandiose concept. Because don't forget, you have a character, the ultimate, I forget his name, the guy who lasted the longest and clear was still fucked on his way to Mexico. Thanks a lot for that one. Like Mexico didn't have enough trouble. But so he was himself a professor or just like very well educated in Greek theology and and myth and things like that. And also, so you have a safe character whose place in the posse has nothing to do with highbrow, life and death and going through. Like there were references to Ragnarok, but at the same time, Greek myths and legends, and there was just so much. It ultimately it reminded me like this, and this might be the reason why I'm a little bit more forgiving than Charlie because Charlie looks like he's ready to knuckle up on Zach.
I'm
Like
so mad.
he's like so angry. Like Charlie's money paid for this movie. That's how mad he is. Um, it's almost like a junior high school kid is like gonna write a creative writing paper, right? And where he probably would have done much better, especially with the visuals. And look, Zack Snyder does certain things very, very
He's one of
well.
my favorite
He's
cinematographers now.
he's made actually several of my very most enjoyed movies thus far in my lifetime. But he just needs to be reined in. He can't be allowed to go buck. I mean, clearly he did that. He went buck conceptually with the DC world, and in my opinion, he took it in a completely incorrect, not enjoyable direction, but also as well as he did the same thing with these zombie flick. I love zombie flicks. I love heist pictures, Oceans series. I love that shit to death. But he tried to make it be 7 things, 8 things. If he had stayed in his lane
Two
and said this
things.
is going to
You
be a
can have
fun,
two.
you can have zombies and you can have a heist, and that's it. Doesn't have to be more than that. It would have ultimately, I think, helped him much better. Not to get all preachy or not to get all judgmental, but from for my entertainment time, that would have been far more entertaining than the jambalaya that he gave us.
My bottom line thought is this: much like George Lucas before him, I feel like he told Netflix that he had this like beautiful 17. They're
Yeah,
doing a
I've
prequel
got a great
anime,
idea.
and he had written nothing 2 days before they started shooting. He had written nothing. He was like, he wrote zombie movie, and then it was just like ideas he had at some point. Robot, dancing girl,
Helmet,
helmet,
cape.
cape. He had a leftover Batman cape and was like, let's do this shit.
We didn't
But
get a chance to use this.
it turns out that much like George Lucas before him, that he lied to Netflix because we all know that damn George Lucas is a liar
Charlie
because
hitting that segue like he can. George Lucas was indeed a liar. So Han shot first, put him up, clink clink, knock it back.
oh boy.
Now double gulp, double gulp. Before Charlie launches into his next tirade, I do call me a little bit unawares. He launched right in. I do want to throw out a couple of things. I think we might even have this fine gentleman with us, Teddy Burgos, friend IRL, friend of the show, friend of US Comics, one of the OG fans of everything we're trying to do here. I only found out today is currently laid up, feet up, arms back, pillow tucked, eating that terrible hospital food right now.
Oh no,
Teddy, get yourself out of the hospital soon. I hope your father, who's also in the hospital, in a separate bed. I hope your dad. I hope everything went well with him, and that he's out of the hospital as well. And what do they say? Bad things happen in threes. Also, as well as best of thoughts go out to Mr. Curtis Burbage. Curtis, get your little furry ass home. Hope you're feeling better, little man. Nothing but good thoughts coming from the boys over here at US Comics. So that shot was actually for you guys, all three of you. But so a little bit of positivity, Charlie, because I gotta tell you, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that. Honestly, I was preparing my sailing against you to be like, how did you like this movie, Charlie? What the hell?
I literally
I was
sat
not
and
expecting.
I stewed.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. If you had come to me and said, you know how much you're like not really enjoying this, like you're just tolerating this, Charlie is gonna hate it. I would not have believed it.
So I'm on like, I just cut my calories and stuff. I'm just trying to live longer. So it's not like a crash diet or anything. But there's one particular meal. It's 333 calories. It's my favorite meal of all my options. It's these little chicken nuggets.
And I made them jokes right now so bad.
I hate you. I made them to watch the movie, and I was like 2 nugs of my 8 nug allowance, and I literally put the 3rd nug down, and I was like, no. Fuck like, you, movie. It ruined Nuggy time for me. Something that never ruins Nuggy time for me.
You deserve more than this.
Yes. I was like, I'm going to watch a rerun of Smallville. That's more your speed nugs. John, start my time.
Gladly.
So I was able to rage about Army of Dead. Some of the people in our chat are lucky enough that they missed the rage. Luckily, you can rewatch this. Back. You can rewatch this and every episode of US Comics Cast on Facebook or on YouTube. You can find that in our profile section under our link tree. You can also listen to the audio version every single Wednesday where we will rage against the dying light. But talking about the beautiful, beautiful rage against the machine that is every time you have an opinion, there's an exception to the rule. I want artists to run free, one runs freeze, and I'm like, damn you to hell. Damn you right to hell. For the most part, I tend to be a more is more guy, but really that's more of the gimmick, right? The probability of them rebooting something or starting from scratch and me welcoming it with open arms and not trepidatious shaky hands is pretty limited. They've been trying to reboot The Crow for 105 years, and part of me is like, just do a sequel. Like, you've done terrible sequels. Do what Hollywood does and make a new part 2. And like, take the story somewhere that maybe has connecting fibers. Do a different person in a similar circumstance, also, like the comics did.
Crow has such a depth of content that you can pull from. I mean, that's the Crow's whole gimmick. Like, there are other Crows after the fact. Just give it the big Hollywood treatment rather than the straight to video treatment that the poor dead bastard has gotten.
And generally, my rule is, if the well of content is deep, if you have a ton of stuff to pull from, pull it, take it in a different direction, do something we haven't seen with the similar IP. But every now and then, there's a property I love that really doesn't surround me here in the studio. It's like you can see my heart on my sleeve if you come into my office here. But there's a few properties I kind of don't. It's not that I don't wear them with pride. It's that there's just not a lot of product out there for me to like throw on my cap.
I happen to know where this is going. If even Funko hasn't jumped on board this property yet, it is ready for a reboot.
And also, some properties just don't have a wealth of depth. not every property is like The Crow, where they have interesting, different stories for days. Every now and then, a magical property comes along, Jon, and it has one at bat. It has one grand slam in it, and then it's like needs to retire. And for a very long time, a property that's about to get rebooted with a man who's worn that S on his chest. Henry Cavill announced this week to star in the reboot of Highlander. And I, as angry as I was a couple minutes ago,
of the universe.
The only thing you need to hold on to from that old movie, in my opinion, is the Queen soundtrack, because here we are.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
I'll take a remix. Use the same. I'm so goddamn excited for a new Highlander property. Right off the bat, I'm going to throw it to you so I can take another big sip of water, because I'm so mad at Robot Zombie still.
Unbelievable.
When you heard the news, what's the gut reaction? What are your feelings on Highlander? Busting out that sword, not quite like He-Man, but certainly with some He-Man energy up in that joint.
Well, and then again, Charlie had for anyone who's still catching up, Charlie had the luxury, had the pleasure of coming up behind me. So I was really able to filter out as much of the garbage as I possibly could. So I tried to keep him away from certain things. Granted, certain Smallvilles snuck through my defenses and got Charlie undiluted. But largely, I tried to save you. I tried. But certain things were literally handed to Charlie on a silver platter, and Highlander was one of them. Now, it's very interesting because Highlander, obviously, again, we have, the cinematic entries, but we also had a super popular TV series
that ran forever.
It ran a long time, and it was actually so popular that originally unintended to be connected, they ended up connecting them so that they're like, oh, maybe we can squeeze some extra money. I mean, juice out of this property. But yeah, Charlie,
Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod.
I totally agree with you. And I got to tell you this, your Scottish accent is much better than a certain Scottishman's Spanish accent.
Well, I'm fucking Spanish, aren't I? Like, what the fuck is happening? What is going on?
Oh man, that's S words, Charlie. S words. So yeah. I mean, the originals, when you go back and watch them now, certain things you love it because you loved it. You love it now because you loved it then. If they came out with Highlander, the version of Highlander that we originally got with Christopher Lambert, I believe was the original star. I know him as the Legend of Greystoke. He was my Tarzan. But
and I know him as Raiden. Right? Did he play Raiden?
He did indeed. With that same fucking voice. So he yeah, so like if you looked at that version, you'd be like, get this trash out of my face.
Be like, what is this awkwardly racist bullshit?
Like the concept of like, well, there can be only one. You're like, all right. And then they proceed to just do some really weird, like the most shoulder pads on everybody's clothes that they can get. Like the villain, I forget his name. I just recently saw something about him. He straight up looked like he was kicked out of he wasn't kicked out of Kiss. He was kicked out of a Kiss cover band. You're like, he's the big bad. He's the guy you got to worry about. They started like, just looks like two businessmen having a straight up sword fight in a parking garage. You're like, I love this. This was like, I couldn't get enough of this.
The fucking Kurgan rules.
It was true.
Clancy Brown better have a role.
Clancy Brown.
I just need him to show up and be like, well, this is fucked up. Like anything. What's so funny about Highlander, though?
I'm still the tallest fucking person in this movie.
Highlander was like, it didn't do well in theaters. Highlander found its audience with the rentals, like the mom and pop, because I imagine there was a bunch of people like us and like most of our chat that was just like, no, you don't get it. There's swords always on them. Like, it doesn't make sense, because sometimes they're in a vest with no t-shirt and they still bust out a katana.
And he's Scottish, but he's got a Japanese sword, bro.
It's the amount of stupidity is all like made up for with heads being chopped off and electricity. Yes. Like, it is so goddamn Highlander sucks, by the way, but it's awesome. Like, that's the way to describe it. And then you had a chucklehead like me who even then makes the same mistakes I make now, and I went more, and they were like, here's the quickening, and I was like, no, do it good. And they're like, we recut it 4 times, and I said, no, I don't like this. And then they gave me like
a whole different topic.
They gave me like 5 more of these goddamn Highlander movies, and I was like, I don't care if Edge is in it from WWE. I want good Highlander. Then they were like, here's a cartoon and a terrible video game. And I'm like, am I fucking not speaking to the people who run Highlander? Because I asked for good. And then they come out with this show that I have to equate is the Smallville it is the Smallville equivalent, like Christopher Reeve Superman to Smallville.
Highlander. I would put it firmly in that Hercules Xena school of show making, where they're like, we gotta have to go to commercial. So like, I'm gonna cut your head off, and all of a sudden you're watching a commercial for fucking Prel. Or like Colgate, you're like, what the hell, man? Certain things, you know how like certain movies you walk out of and like you watched it in like a weird part of the day, where like when you get out of the theaters, like there were sex scenes and there were murders and there were like nuns being like lit on fire, and then you walk out and birds are chirping, and it's like, you know, beautiful out and people working on a tan. That shit doesn't feel right. I feel the same way about certain content. You're like, this should never go to a commercial right now. Like, don't worry about the toy line. Like, let's finish this story up, kid. And even just those little kind of snackable portions, I don't know necessarily that it particularly worked, but I do like the idea of like living 1,000 years and chopping heads and like, just occasionally dating.
Just throw out a little bit of romance goes a long way. I love that, like, everyone tries to make our boy Superman be like he's grief-stricken forever and kills the world if Lois dies. Meanwhile, there's like 87 Highlanders on their 15th wife, and they're like, shit, Beth is dead. I'm gonna chop off a head so I'm 28 again and get some new space future tang. There's something just so viscerally awesome about Highlander that's almost boring. It's like you throw on a long crow-like leather coat and I'm fucking in. Not sometimes, all the time. Like, that'll get my butt in the seats. But what other property has so much untapped potential as the Highlander franchise? We've seen them make some money off of it, but Highlander's not a top 20 franchise. No. It's probably fighting for top 100. And it really does have this, you have this ability to tell all these different movies about all these different Highlanders throughout all these different times. That could be so cool.
Hit the nail on the head, because a concept like Highlander is straight line. Like Zack Snyder could never make a Highlander movie, because he would like try to explain, well, the lightning actually is from space, and then also as well as it needs to be on the water, but like we're allergic to electricity on water, bro, because we're from Earth. Like, shut up, Zack.
So he would have made all the other Highlander movies where they're like, it took them 4 movies for someone to be like, I'm gonna put metal around my neck and you guys are fucked. Like,
Zack would have been like, armor. They're actually normies and we're all the Highlanders, but we don't. Like, shut up, Zack Snyder, shut up. No, I think that ultimately probably how it would work best would be in like long form long form storytelling. And yeah, granted, you can have one overarching character. It could be Duncan. It could be, honestly, it could be the Spaniard. It could be, you can even recast another fucking Scottish guy and have him play Spanish, because I don't have a problem with that. Knock yourself out.
As long as they
But
balance it, John Leguizamo has to play a Scottish guy, and then
Charlie,
you could do whatever you
it's
want.
not tit for tat, Charlie.
Yeah,
Okay.
for me it is.
But on an episodic basis, he could be reminiscing about other Highlanders, because ultimately you do get to a point where you're kind of like you're down to the last two, eggs on the shelf. You gotta, something's gotta happen. I mean, that story does have an ultimate ending just by its nature, which I really like, because eventually you got to get there on a long enough timeline. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, and what's really cool is, again, every studio right now, they approach every property that's kind of currently being worked on. They talk about like what can be in multiple markets. What movie franchise can we launch that'll have an anime, that'll have a series kind of spun off and Highlander, if you start over, it's one of those rare occasions where it's like, I don't think it's sacrilegious at all. We have the Highlander movie, we have the TV show. They're beautiful, they're wonderful. Let them be on the shelf and let me pull them down to enjoy them again. Use this new franchise to remind people, like, you want to see a chick version? There's a show called The Raven. It's not very good, but Charlie watched it multiple times. There's something really exciting about, as much as I of course declare I want to see new stuff, but part of the reason I love new stuff is it takes inspiration and the remix of what's come before it.
If I can just jump in really quickly, because this is something that really grinds my gears. People like, oh, I want something new. I want something new. There is nothing new, right? Like, storytellers will all agree with you that there are really only 6 stories, period. I mean, some people might argue like, well, there's really 8, but you clearly see that, we're kind of nickel and diming at this point. Ultimately, there are only so many stories that can be told. Now, if you want to say, okay, well, give me something that doesn't have IP that you have to worry about, so that I don't have to do my homework, or even worse, I don't want to be able to compare it with, I'll say, okay, that's not a problem. Here's Army of the fucking Dead. Now are you regretting what you asked for, you son of a bitch? I think ultimately where it comes from is when they're ready to roll out a reboot, there are 2 reasons why I would be not into it. And I'm going on the premise that A, I was into the original concept to begin with, and B, that I'm at least neutral to the creative parties involved, be it the writer, director, stars, what have you. If I happen to know and like those moving pieces, then you got me. Like, it's gonna happen. The times though that I'm not into it is when the version that we got last was perfectly serviceable, and if you wanted to continue it, you absolutely could do so, i.e., the performers are still with us, are still available, are still willing to tell that story. Or B, if I didn't give a shit about it to begin with, right? Because if you came to me and said, no offense intended, and I mean this sincerely, if you came in to me and said, Charlie, John, they're making another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, can you believe that shit? I would sit back and be like, cool. Is it going to be claymation this time? Is it going to be hand puppets? Is it going to, like, what's it going to be this time? Because I'm not super um I'm not super invested in that content. When somebody comes up with something quote unquote brand new, it's still derived from something. Or again, to throw back to Charlie's original rant, it's just a combination of other shits that we've gotten before. It's like, oh, we're gonna mix Coke and Sprite, and like, oh, here's some ginger ale. Like, look at you. All right, put it on the menu. You got me. So I'm pretty okay with it. Something like Conan or the 2016 Ghostbusters. If they're like, here's this. Remember, you love the original. Here's some more. If it didn't fall within that that category. So I'm very comfortable to be like, nah, I'm good. No, thank you.
I feel the
And I
same
go
way
about my
about,
way.
and this is probably a bad example
We're used
because
to it, bro. Don't
I
worry.
think I think the plan is for a female cast, but the new A-Team movie, it's not that I'm going to skip it. It's that I have no dog in the fight. Like a new A-Team movie, it'll be like, if the trailer looks good, great. I love seeing movies.
It's such a simple concept.
But that's a concept that I felt like I was fine with the show. They did the movie like a few years ago, and I was fine with that too.
But again, let me ask you, and this is one of those things where clearly we didn't have the prior conversation. How much of the show did you really watch?
Oh, I mean, background noise when I was a kid.
Okay.
Like it never was something that was like part of my
I could tell you, I had the figures, I had the van.
Oh, wow.
I had, they were 3 3/4, and they were somewhat, they just had them dressed them like goofy Technicolor colors. Like, Face Man would never wear orange. Okay, if anybody, that's Murdoch. And like everybody just wanted Mr. T. Like, just give me 4 Mr. T's and the van and call it a day, son. So like I saw every single episode. I was into it. I had like maybe the last, like, the guns were like, if I had been on the street, I would have been taken out by the police, rightfully so, because those things looked. I could have invaded fucking North Korea if I really wanted to. So I knew all about it, to the point where when the Rampage Jackson version, we'll call it, because Mr. T, B.A. Baracus is always the lead there.
I ain't getting on no plane. I ain't doing no big budget movie again.
Dude, that bit is fucking. You could wring more juice out of that shit than a fucking grapefruit. Okay? I'm not getting that plane, Hannibal. Anyways, I was so into this the source material that when I got the reboot, I was totally fine with it. And it was like an okay movie. It was okay. It wasn't anything special. It didn't launch a franchise. But I wasn't going to get any more of the Mr. T, George Papard, fucking what's his face from Battlestar Galactica. I wasn't going to get any more, though. So, when that's off the table, then you're like, well, I love this. I love the subject matter. I love the IP. Sure, give me what you got. And that's how I feel about this one. I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's all fucking chimpanzees. I'm in. Matter of fact, if it's an all chimpanzee A-Team, I might pay double.
That's the new Planet of the Apes movie. It's Planet of the Apes, like, A-Team. Ape Team? Oh, it's the Ape Team.
Caesar took over. And then he was framed for a crime he didn't commit. Him and the big gorilla, and also as well as the orangutan, they formed a special A-Team. If you can find them, and if you need help, maybe you can get the Banana Squad.
Is the van like Flintstone style? Like, did they make the van themselves? Their feet are sticking out the bottom.
The van is a repurposed zoo transport. They're like, this van is ours now, fool. Like the Mr. T ape would be like, this is my van now. And like the face monkey would be like the version, like the hot chimpanzee from the first Planet of the Apes reboot. Oh man, I'm in. Charlie is choking to death.
Oh my god, that was so funny. Oh, I don't think we can do any better than that. Oh boy, this show and those magic moments would not be possible without my brother being the 3rd funniest human on earth. Bill Murray, John on a bad day, John on a good day. That's my top 3. I couldn't even think.
So both of my personalities are in there. That's excellent.
I like to leave room for bipolar people like myself. My dear brother, this show, of course, like I just said, but I need to repeat because there are tears in my eyes. This show would be impossible to get to you lovely people on Facebook, on YouTube, on SoundCloud, on every single platform you can hear a podcast or see a podcast. There we are. We're even on Twitch, ladies and gentlemen.
There we are.
it would be impossible without our lovely sponsors. And one of my absolutely favorite sponsors, I'm going to have Jon talk about. Jon, tell him about these lovely people.
Look, the bottom line is this. When it comes to Facebook gaming, there is only one man with the stripes that you gotta salute, and it is Sergeant Finesse. 2 streams a day, outstanding gaming content. He's such a bad mother sucker that Activision themselves says, no, we got to hold you back because you're too good. You're getting too many dubs. Outstanding gaming content, supporter streams, giveaways, contests. Do not be a sucker. Check him out today. Throw him a like, a follow. Consider becoming a supporter. If you need a pick-me-up, though, that's a different story. Then you got to follow the White Rabbit over to sneakenergy.com and spills all over you. Use code SGT at checkout. So good, sucker. Looking for some fresh new gear? Go ahead over to geeksunleash.com. Use code SARGE at checkout there. When the Sarge is on deck, you salute. GG, son. He's streaming right now.
And while you're cleaning up stuff or watching their stream or our stream, you need music in your life. And for music, when I'm feeling blue, I turn to the one and only Bad Mary. You can find them on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram over at Bad Mary Band. You can go to the website, badmary.com. You can support them over on Patreon and throw them money hand over fist over at patreon.com/Bad Mary. And my favorite part is they are available on every single streaming service. They are slow dropping a new covers album. You might even hear one of those brand new songs tonight at the end of the show.
I'm ready for that new this week. They got me amped up.
I cannot wait. What's great is you can go on all those music services and you could literally be like, yo, tell me when this is live. I'm going to listen to it now. But with that all being said, my dear brother, are you ready for me to start your time?
I wish you would.
Bang!
Nice. Look at that. Love me some J&B sound cues. So, you know, we kind of already touched on what I want to talk about in theory, right? So, look at this. Get a little utter delight. So, we have we've got this new version. Cavill's out there making a name for himself. It's nice to see, poor guy. So we have this new Highlander coming our way, and this is a straight reboot, as Charlie said, brand new start. You know the parts. Here's a different direction for you. But a term that I coined, Charlie and I coined right here on US Comics Cast. Was rather than the reboot rather, or the remake, instead rather the reroute. Now I'm a big fan of the reroute. Creed is probably the best one, that I can use to as an example because it's pretty universally appreciated and rightfully so.
Hell yeah.
However, its source material, Rocky, is an all-time great, but Creed is its own thing. So much so that now this third Creed we're gonna get, there's no Rocky to be had.
Rocky-less.
I've had a friend Casey of the show. He and I have had several conversations about well, how are you gonna have Rocky not be involved? Like it's not like a Captain Marvel situation where you can say, well, she's flying off at a different. I mean, granted, like Rocky's a shark now, but.
We don't know what the script is. Rocky could be fighting in space.
You know what? If fucking Vin Diesel can do it, Sylvester Stallone can do it too.
We're talking about the movies.
So, again, I'm a huge fan of the reroute, and largely because a lot of the IP that I particularly love has so much more to give. It really does. However, you can't just, in my opinion, obviously, you can't just keep regurgitating the same variation. We talk about it here all the time. If I fucking see poor Ben Parker bite it one more time, or the Waynes, enough is enough. Give me something else.
That poor pearl necklace just keeps getting torn off this lady. Let her have her jewelry. For God's sakes.
Were you wearing that pearl necklace before? Anyways,
Ew, gross.
So again, I am a self-professed fan of the reroute. There is a reroute coming, and shame on me because I a little insight. Sometimes, folks, I love you guys, like our listeners, our viewers. I love you. I don't love you quite as much as my baby brother, though. So sometimes I will share things purely to Charlie when, truth be told, my intention was to share it with everybody. There was a trailer for a new flick coming out called The Green Knight. I
Ooh,
don't
baby.
know. I know Charlie saw it because I sent it to him. But I don't know if our fans have seen it yet. So shame on me that you haven't. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm going to post it to the U.S. Comics socials immediately after this recording because I want you to see this trailer. It just looks great. Even if you did not necessarily know the landscape beforehand, you're like, oh, that's some sword and sandal fantasy level shit. Something to kind of like rub your back after all the bad feelings that the final season of Game of Thrones left you with. Like it is the good for I don't care. Nobody can say no, that shit doesn't look fresh. But what many people might not know that it is indeed
I
a
missed it.
reroute. It's a reroute off of the King Arthur Camelot saga, right? Now, that's not entirely new. Like so King Arthur has been one of those IPs, we're throwing the term around quite a bit, that has been around since forever. Easily one of the top, I would say probably five most adapted characters, bar none. And I don't care if you're talking about novels, short stories, comic books, movies, TV shows, and they've also given musicals, theater, plays, operas. They've given it to us. It hasn't always been the straightforward a sword in the stone cartoons. Disney had a crack at it. Like we've gotten different flavors, different variations of it, and the reroute for that is not entirely new as well. Matter of fact, just recently, it's behind me. It's the orange guy next to Gone with the Wind down there. Cursed was a relatively recent book adaptation, novel adaptation first that did make its way over to Netflix. And rather than focusing on Arthur or Merlin, who we've seen maybe just as much of, and not more than Arthur, or Guinevere, the focus actually was on the Lady of the Lake herself.
Yeah.
And like other than like comedic turns on the Broadway stage, like that hasn't been so much the focus. So again, Arthur has not seen quite so many
One of the stars of Army of Darkness. King Arthur's in a damn Evil Dead movie, for God's sakes.
So it really started me thinking, well, first and first, mostly that's for you, Nick. I'm just so amped to see it. It's excellent. And
well, the one thing you haven't said is the main character of Green Knight is who?
The character's name escapes me, so I appreciate for that.
Sorry,
ill-begotten setup.
Well,
Charlie.
it's not Arthur. I don't. It's
no, of course. That was my point. Is that it's a reroute. So it's actually his nephew, and again, his name escapes me, but I'll get there. So I do want to stay away from the book report, but again, the short version of it is like he's on a quest. It's his nephew who's on a quest, and he's tracking down this Green Knight. But like, it's really a suicide mission. Like most people know it, but back then, like they did things, whether it's historically accurate. We're talking about people who really lived, or like fantastical people that kind of informed this knightly way of thinking. Like you did things for honor, like your honor mandated, like I've got to do this, whether I like it, you like it, or whomever you ask. It's about my honor. I'm gonna fucking do it. I know I'm probably gonna die. I know I'm probably not gonna come back, but you do it anyway. But that wasn't my point, Charlie. My ultimate point was this. of all the characters that are out there that we have literally seen being done to death. Matter of fact, that's why I wore my Sam Jackson shirt today. For two reasons. Of all the characters, he's probably been in every movie that we're thinking of right now. He's in every fucking movie. It's unbelievable. But also, as well as, how about this? Our good friends, Jordan and Mike, they're over in their podcast. They're doing like a Quentin Tarantino retrospective, which I thought would be nice little tie-in.
Comes in tomorrow everywhere you can find a podcast.
It'll be up tomorrow. That's correct. Of all the characters, who have we gotten more than King Arthur, but on a direct trajectory? I'm talking about what characters that are out there that we've seen over and over and over in all different variations, but we haven't yet seen a reroute. And I'm wondering the reason why. So just top of your head, fair is fair. What's one character that you can think of that we have seen ad nauseum? You're like, where even you, who's a fan of most things, not Army of the Dead, but somebody says, "Oh, did you see this is coming out? Show, movie, series, comic, whatever." Where you're like, "Fuck again." What's the first one that comes to mind?
The first one that came to my mind, and then I remembered Joker existed, but Batman was one of those characters that I was like, "Oh God, for God's sakes!"
Batman is probably the most modern one that I can think of, and he's like 75 years old.
Yeah.
I agree completely. Batman, we have gotten like a mainline infusion of, like, since I can remember, wanting to be entertained by something. Batman has been over and over. Now, granted, you're right. Excuse me. We have gotten Joker, but that is, to my way of thinking, literally the first reroute that we've gotten in all these years. It's the first time they're like, well, there's other things. Would you say Gotham, though? Would you say Commissioner Gordon's turn in Gotham?
It would have been if they
category.
If they kept the concept, which was like, this is the Jim Gordon show, and then they were like, here's a little bit of Bruce Wayne, here's a lot of Bruce Wayne, here's Batman. Like he was. That's like saying Smallville isn't about Superman. And while people like you would be like, well, it's not,
it though?
Because I saw that coming 2 miles away.
Well, let's
same with, like, let's say Spider-Man. The Venom movie isn't an offshoot of Spider-Man. It's like a dimension where Spider-Man doesn't exist.
I mean, as far as we know, like as of today's date, maybe, but I wouldn't lump Spider-Man in. But you know what? Just so we can we'll play out the set, as it were. Let's just for shits and gigs, let's pretend that Joker doesn't exist and that Gotham didn't exist. I know our newlywed game would be a runaway because I know what your answer was going to be. But if I was going to say, Charlie, give me a Batman reroute, I'll give you all the money in the world. What is it?
Dick Grayson. The Flying Graysons.
Charlie is going to answer Dick 99.9% of this. Dick Grayson, folks. Come on. Grow up. What the hell's wrong with you? Dick Grayson. Yes, absolutely. And I would probably agree with you. I would counter, though, with one. Dick, for me, is number one. But this homeboy would be 1A.
Pennyworth? That's a show. Just none of us have seen it. That's a show. I don't know what channel it's on.
I know that it's out there, but I'm talking about, like, I would love to see the straight up comic book adaptation, because Alfred fucking Pennyworth was a bad man. He is a spy buster, fuck you up, and then tidy up behind you. Where, like, I don't care what kind of DNA testing followed behind, what kind of dusting for fingerprints, you are not gonna get. He's not gonna get caught.
That's actually how I would frame. I would frame my Alfred show like Boondock Saints with flashbacks, but it would start with him cleaning up. Like he's putting on the white gloves, and it's just like a guy's head is on the mantle. It's just him tidying up before the cops show up.
I like it. Well, all right. So we'll play out we'll play out the theme. Um, I'll ask you this: do you know what character has been adapted more often than any other?
Is it Sherlock Holmes?
It's not, but that's a good
I feel
guess.
like Sherlock had
Now,
a lot. Who's
Sherlock
number
Holmes.
one?
Hold on, we'll get to it. So
Sure.
Sherlock Holmes is 100% one of those characters. He's definitely on my list. Now, only very, very, very recently, I mean, we had like dueling Sherlock Holmes projects going on, um, dueling TV projects, dueling movie projects, like at the same fucking time. And this was also one of those scenarios, speaking for myself, where I love Sherlock Holmes,
Yeah.
right? I've read him. I've watched him. I've seen him on stage. I've seen him in movies, on shows. And off the top of my head, I can't think of a version where I'm like, that's terrible. Like they've made it a point to like, okay, we're gonna gender bend certain characters. We're going to move the timeline of certain characters. We're gonna make things modern. But like every version that they come up with, I was like, cool. Yeah, that's excellent. They're like, all right, in this one, Sherlock is gonna be a Smurf, but Watson is gonna be a Snork, bro. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's great.
Even
Nice.
Who's
animating?
Even their reroute worked. They were like, he has a sister, and John was like, is Henry Cavill playing Sherlock?
That's
all right.
That's exactly the thing, and it's interesting that you mentioned that because they did just announce season 2 of Enola Holmes,
or movie
which is
2.
just movie 2. I'm so sorry, correct. Because it's on the streaming platform, I sometimes get confused.
You're like, this is such a short season. It's only 2 hours.
The sequel. Well, yeah, like where the fuck is her mom, man? Look, you have a daughter, and your mom goes missing. You don't just like put up a sign and look for an hour or two around England and be like, oh, look, you get out there and you find your fucking mom. Anyways, so
that's the crossover I want now.
so to go back and answer my own question, it's fucking Dracula.
Oh, the comment section was stuck on Jesus. They were like, Jesus? Is it Jesus? And Superman doesn't count. Chat.
Look, I love our chat because they are just good, wholesome Christians. But no, it's Dracula. Now I want you to cast your mind back. Think of all of the fucking Dracula iterations that we have gotten. We've gotten obviously we've gotten books. The original is still the best. We've got, and also it's written in the style of like it's letters.
Yeah.
It's like the fucking Color Purple, but like if Celie was gonna drink your blood, actually maybe I can see that happening. Rather than spitting into shit, she sucks the blood out. But yeah, it's fucking brilliant.
It goes all the way from Bram Stoker to Blade 3. They were like, fuck it, Dracula, and he looks like Vin Diesel.
At some point, like it's just got to be Dracula. Sorry. Eventually, honestly, the only heavy vampire hand that I can think of off the top of my head who hasn't was like, you know, it is Dracula, bro. Anne Rice. Anne Rice, for all her good and bad, the one thing that she has done is she's like, I'm just gonna leave Dracula the fuck alone.
That's because she's too busy making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, she's like, I got some Charlies to fuck with. But we've gotten stage versions.
We've had Puerto Rican Draculas.
That's right. And I still have those fangs around here someplace. TV shows and movies and cartoons and comic books and fucking Dracula. I mean, he literally, I don't care if you have a steak and a thing of onions around your neck and a crucifix. I mean, just recently we had a very good, I want to say BBC had a hand in it, a very good adaptation on one of the streaming services. I'm like, look at this shit. I'm like, I'm always up for it.
Yeah.
I cannot, it is the fucking Chinese food of IPs. I'm like, oh, Dracula, cool. Like, you don't have to go any further than that. I don't need to know who's in it. I don't care who made it. I don't care when it's coming. Oh, it's coming out on July 4th. Cool, I'll be there. You could give me Dracula like wearing the fucking Apollo Creed outfit from his first fight with Rocky.
Bum, bum, ba-da-ba.
Same soundtrack even. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I'm down.
This Valentine's Day from U.S. Comics Films, Dr. Acula. And at the end of the film, we see the period drop out and the Doctor and the Acula go together and it says, Dracula, this doctor's gonna take your blood. Wink.
But Doctor, I don't see a needle.
Exactly.
Oh, you bombed. Oh my God!
Hate us sometimes.
We're the worst. So let me ask you this, and obviously you're a red-blooded American nerd. So so if you were gonna do a reroute of Dracula, now this is somewhat debatable, but if you were gonna do a reroute of Dracula, what would it be for you?
Me personally,
No,
I
the
would
guy
do
behind you.
Paul. I would probably. I mean, Van Helsing seems like the low hanging fruit.
And Van Helsing has been literally the only guy that's gotten any kind of like love, right?
Yeah.
So we've gotten different. We've gotten different. Our chat's cracking me up. I apologize. We've gotten different iterations of the Van Helsing situation. We've gotten descendants of Van Helsing, but it's always been in connection with Dracula.
Yeah,
right? Like you can't get too far away. Like it's got the magnetic attraction.
I'm so embarrassed to say it though, but like my just to pour my heart out, Dracula 2000. I thought the conceit. I thought the fact that they were like Van Helsing is using Dracula blood to watch like the corpse. I thought that was so clever.
Oh, God.
And you see Vitamin C's
like,
boobies.
Oh, leeches. Oh, shit, son.
And also, they really won me over. And they're like, do you know that one song from Vitamin C that you heard at your graduation and nowhere else? You're going to see her boobs. High five. We're a movie made in 2001. Yeah. Just high fives all around that room.
I was more excited for 7 of 9 myself personally, but whatever floats your Transylvanian boat. Honestly, I would be, and this is kind of tough because a lot of the monsters, like the Universal monsters, as they've been come to know, they've been kind of lumped together for a lot of projects, and even recently, which I don't think is fair. Right, I really don't. I think that they can stand on their own. But that all being said, if you were going to give me a reroute, I would be far more interested in give me Dracula's brides. Right, we've got the Bride of Frankenstein. She's her own up on a fucking pedestal character as well. She's huge. She's a huge character, literally and figuratively. But the brides of Dracula have only ever been maligned, tossed away, like used as like a plot point. Like, well, this is how we kill vampires because watch, we're going to kill these bitches. Yeah. No, this is what I would do. Give me that point in time where Dracula does decide to cross the great water, pack up the dirt and do his thing. But you know what? He left behind a castle. He left behind taxes. He left behind wives. So now you have the brides of Dracula who are free, in essence, for the first time in their collective lives, in their vampiric lives, to just do whatever the fuck they want. So if you thought Dracula was bad, my pitch would be like, imagine three vampiric gals on the town and all the sucking that they could do. I think that would be a fucking dynamite chapter in that story. Dracula does not show up, so it's their story, and you can really run with it.
I think what's really great too is we have kind of proof of concept because Lady DMS, I'm going to screw it up. Lady D from the newest Resident Evil movie captured the world's imagination, and she was just vampire-ish. You throw in 3 of these broads, just crushing it.
don't even need to have giant hats. Like they don't really need much. But oh, you gotta be kidding me! Wow, this topic went away.
You got a
So I'm
couple
just
minutes.
gonna
You got a couple minutes.
well, I'm gonna run down some of my what I found to be like the most commonly used content that's out there. You let me know, who do you want to reroute for? So we have Dracula, we have Robin Hood. We've gotten a billion times. Obviously, you mentioned Sherlock Holmes, Alice from my both the Wonderland and the Looking Glass, and from Lost Girls, which is the hottest comic book ever drawn.
Oh,
So Alice, we've gotten more than a handful. My man, the Fox, Zorro, fucking Tarzan. This is the second mention. We've got Joe March from Little Women, Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice. Again, Charlie brought up Batman, but also 007. Right,
yes.
these are characters, the short version, long ifs. We've gotten these characters over and over and over, and it's largely been just different versions, different variations of the same exact fucking theme. I mean, specifically for both Little Women and Pride and Prejudice, nothing different ever happens.
Yeah.
Like nothing new. There's no new
Even when
fun
you add
neighbor that shows
zombies,
up.
Pride and Prejudice and zombies, I'm like, when the fuck?
Still, you're like, are these crazy kids gonna get together? I gotta know. I gotta know. Yes, that's the way I talk. I gotta know. I have to know. Yeah, I agree with you completely. But so of that list, and I'll read it for you again, Charlie. Robin Hood, Sherlock Holmes, Alice, Zorro, Tarzan, Joe March, Elizabeth Bennet, even not the Batman, but or 007. Who's your reroute project?
Zorro. I think that again, it's
Walk with me,
just.
talk with me.
I think there's a billion directions you could go in
Throw me
Zorro.
one.
I
Throw me
mean,
one.
the anytime you have a protagonist's love interest, I think there's a ton of meat on that bone.
Mhm.
I would love to see like the her version of life. She in the most recent Antonio Banderas adaptations of Zorro, I think they did a very good job in that sequel of making like this very empowered female character. You could
Mhm.
make it very much that she could be like the part of the planning process or the brains, or there's so much, because even those movies were kind of reroutes because you had classic Zorro kind of prepping the
Yeah,
person to kind of take.
Don Diego was kind of a secondary character, and it's very interesting. I'm glad you brought it up. So that character, he was one of the Murriettas, and the Murriettas were actually what inspired the creation of Zorro. Like the Murriettas were
You were telling me
real.
about this, and holy crap!
Oh my god, what a great story. I won't bore everybody to tears with it now, but it had a historical basis. So Zorro came from someplace, and as we all know, Zorro begat Batman, and Batman has begot a lot of U.S. comics characters. So this is there's no nothing. There is no original. There's no OG. Like I don't give a fuck if you could take it back to the Trojan War, right? You can take it back. It doesn't make a difference. The fucking Romans stole from the Greeks, and the Greeks fucking probably took that shit from somebody else. So it's whatever. Like,
Bottom line is
I'm tired of hearing about it.
there was some asshole in a cave that saw Caveman A's drawing, went back to his cave, and he was like, check out this original idea I had. Look at this stick.
He's like,
That's a person.
Look at my hand. I'm gonna throw paint around my hand. Oh shit, son, you like that? That'll be 4 rocks.
And then there's the reroute where someone makes that hand into a turkey. For my brother, the CEO of US Comics, I, of course, am the COO of US Comics. And boy, do we love our sponsors, but we love you guys even more. Without your support, we wouldn't possibly be able to keep this going. You could join us every single Wednesday at 7 o'clock right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch. You can hear brand new audio episodes at midnight. For the second it becomes Wednesday, you have original audio content to pump in your ears, available wherever you can find podcast action. But my dear brother, there is only one way we end this and every episode of US Comics. And why don't you tell the good people how that is?
Can you hear this? No, I don't think you can.
I can't.
There's actually two things. First and first, mostly, just like when you wake up in the middle of the night, you're like, oh, I remember the Final Jeopardy answered. The fucking character is Sir Gawain. That's the nephew from The Green Knight. So Charlie set up only about an hour later. You're welcome.
Fun fact, I looked it up and I was not confident enough on how to pronounce it. And I wasn't about to be like, Jerwin is what I was going to say. And I did it.
He's like, oh, yeah.
I'm smart. I'm not dumb.
Sir Jerry Wayne. He's I think he's the only Jewish member of the round table. Sir Gawain. Anyways, but also as well as, and probably would have known that answer the first time. First, you got to turn the power on. Then you got to turn the volume up. Then you got to tune Bad Mary in. Open up the window wide and scream out into the night sky. Save me, Space Girl. We out.
I got my sights set on you and I'm ready to aim. I have a heart that will never be tamed. I knew you were something special when you spoke my name. Now I can't wait to see you again. I got a way of knowing when something is right. I feel like I must have known you in another life. 'Cause I felt this deep connection when you looked in my eyes. So stutter when you ask me what I'm thinking about. But like I couldn't breathe, you asked what's wrong with me. My best friend Leslie said, oh, she's just being Mary. The next time we hang out, I will redeem myself. My heart can't rest till then. I can't wait to see you again. I got a crazy feeling deep inside. When you asked me what I'm thinking about, felt like I couldn't breathe. You asked what's wrong with me. My best friend Leslie said, oh, she's just being Mary. The next time we hang out, I will redeem myself. My heart, it can rest till then. I can't wait to see you again. I can't wait to see you again. I can't wait to see you again.